يا الله.
وَيَوْمَئِذٍ يَفْرَحُ الْمُؤْمِنُونَ. And on that day when Rome was victorious the first time and the second time, which is to come, the Muslims are going to celebrate. بِنَصْرِ اللَّهِ يَنْصُرُ مَنْ يَشَاءُ وَاللَّهُ عَزِيزٌ رَحِيمٌ. Who is Rome? That's only one answer. Only one honest answer. Rome is Orthodox Christianity. Orthodox Christianity. We are so happy to welcome, I don't want to mention his name, but he's Greek, born in Greece, in an Orthodox Christian family, took the Shahada, and now he's here with us as a Muslim visiting us from Greece. So welcome, brother. I don't want to mention his name. Rome is Orthodox Christianity, which had its headquarters in Constantinople. Notice the name I use for the city. Mustafa Kemal prohibited me from using that name. If I use that name in Turkey, they'll arrest me. So tonight from Ampang we say to Mustafa Kemal, get lost. Whether the Turkish people are pleased or displeased is irrelevant. If our Prophet sallallahu alayhi wa sallam spoke of that city and used the name Constantinople, then it is sunnah to use the name Constantinople. But most of mankind today are so brainwashed, taken such leave of their intelligence and knowledge, that they have accepted as a fait accompli that the name Constantinople is now in a garbage bin, and they have to use the substitute that Mustafa Kemal gave them. Well, you go your way, because we have another way that we're going, and it's not your way. We're going to use the name given by Muhammad sallallahu alayhi wa sallam, Constantinople. So it is Orthodox Christianity that is Rome. And they attacked Russia, and they attacked Eastern Europe, Christianity, with the Bolshevik Revolution of 1917. Yes, mashallah, you've done your homework. And then they gave communism and the Soviet Union, which pursued a mission of destroying the religious foundations, the church, the monasteries, so there will be an atheist state. Because the attack was on Rome. But in Akhir Zaman, in that part of the world where the Black Sea is located, the second of the two curtains will have to occur, Qarnayn. And so power is going to emerge, scripted by Allah. And that power will rest eventually on foundations of faith. And today we see that Russia is returning to Christianity. And he's shaking his head because he wants to see the same thing in Greece. Russia is returning to Christianity before your very eyes. But some of you, excuse me for my language, forgive me for my language, but some of us are so blind that we still consider Russia to be a communist state. Yes. Russia is returning to Christianity. And Russia now has a power with which to be able to stand up and resist those who today wield power in the world. And Russia is showing a profile that it is not afraid. It is not afraid. And so this could possibly be the second of the two currents that we have just witnessed. When their plans over Ukraine, on which I have lectured already, please go to YouTube and listen to my lectures on Ukraine, because we don't have the time to repeat it now. Backfired on them. And Russia was able to recover Crimea, because it was Russian. And it was a Zionist Soviet Union which mysteriously took Crimea from Russia and gave it away to Ukraine in 1954. Mysteriously, because it was being done on Israel's behalf. Israel was born 6 years earlier in 1948. And Allah has brought Crimea back to Russia. Allah has done it. Imran Hossein is not being reckless with his words. No, I have studied the subject long before most of you had an inkling of the subject. And this is not boasting, because anyone who boasts, Allah will take away your knowledge. Yes, and leave you like a fool if you boast. So this is not reckless language on my part. No, that we can possibly be witnessing now the second of the two comings. Zulkarnain said, not only will he use power to punish the oppressor, and I am anticipating that Putin is simply waiting for Ukraine. Give them enough rope and they will hang themselves to commit sufficient atrocities, using your own armed forces against your own people, killing your own people. And when the evidence of oppression and wickedness is sufficient, then Russia will respond. And then the world will witness the successful use of power resting on the foundations of faith to teach a lesson to the oppressor and to those who are wicked. ثُمَّ يُرَدُّ إِلَى رَبِّهِ فَيُعَذِّبُهُ عَذَابًا نُكْرًا. And after I have punished them, they will then return to you. This is the first command. Bismillahi awwaluhu wa akhiruh. Can you build a barrier? We prepared to pay you, Zulkarnain. Can you build a barrier? The word used was sad, to contain them, so that they will not be able to harm us. He said, I don't need your money. I don't need your money. Just help me with manpower and bring me blocks of iron. Zubar al-Hadid. And he built not a sad, but a rudder, something like a dam. And having built it with blocks of iron, and incidentally, it is in precisely that geographical location that there are large deposits of iron ore. Having built the barrier, the rudder, he then said, blow with your bellows, build the furnace, and bring me molten copper. And he poured the molten copper, which then prevented rust. That's what the engineers told me. We probably have some engineers here tonight. And Gog and Magog was successfully contained. They could neither penetrate nor could they escape. So the world was safe. He then went on to say, هَذَا رَحْمَةُ مِنْ رَبِّي. This is an act of kindness from your Lord. فَإِذَا جَاءَ وَعْدُ رَبِّي. But when that time comes, of which your Lord has warned, Akhir Zaman, جَعَلَهُ دَكَّ. Allah is going to bring down the barrier. وَكَانَ وَعْدُ رَبِّي حَقًّا. And then the warning of your Lord will come to pass. وَتَرَكْنَا بَعْضَهُمْ يَوْمَئِذٍ يَمُوجُ فِي بَعْضٍ. وَنُفِخَ فِي السُّورِ فَجَمَعْنَاهُمْ جَمْعًا. This probably can qualify as the most difficult verse in the whole Quran. وَتَرَكْنَا بَعْضَهُمْ يَوْمَئِذٍ يَمُوجُ فِي بَعْضٍ وَنُفِخَ فِي السُّورِ فَجَمَعْنَاهُمْ جَمْعًا. So let's leave that verse for the time being. When will they be released? How will we know that Gog and Magog have been released? That Allah has brought down the barrier. The Quran gives the answer. All that we have to do is to leave Surah Al Kahf and go to Surah Al Anbiya, that's all. There are only 2 verses in the Quran on Gog and Magog. When we go to Surah Al Anbiya, Allah speaks about a town, Qarya, which He destroyed. And the people of the town were expelled. And then Allah placed a ban on them that they could never return to reclaim that town as their own. Never. وَحَرَامٌ عَلَى قَرْيَةٍ أَهْلَكْنَاهَا أَنَّهُمْ لَا يَرْجِعُونَ. They cannot return to recover it as their own. حَتَّى Until when? إِذَا فُتِحَتْ. Mark the words. فُتِحَتْ. Until Gog and Magog have been released. فُتِحَتْ. Released. This is the Quran. The Quran prevails over the Hadith. It is to the Quran that you must go first of all, if you want knowledge. Why have they not done that? Forgive me. It is my frustration which is showing here. My frustration. Because I wrote my book, An Islamic View of Gog and Magog in the Modern World. How many years ago? It's still there outside. And yet Islamic scholarship chooses to ignore the Quran and stay with us isolated hadith. And the hadith does not speak about futihat. It says ba'atha. We'll come to that in a moment. So all of them out there, with hardly any exception, all of them are living in this fairy land. The Gog and Magog will only be released after Nabi Isa alayhi salam has returned and he has killed Dajjal. If that is the nonsense you want to believe, you go your way. I call it nonsense because you're using wrong methodology. You must go to the Quran first. It's frustration you're seeing now in this speaker. Because I've been teaching the subject for so long, but they wouldn't listen to me. When Gog and Magog are released, وَهُمْ مِنْ كُلِّ حَدَبٍ يَنْسِلُونَ, and they spread out in all directions, and therefore fasad everywhere in the world. Everywhere in the world, fasad. Then you will see these people being brought back to this town to recover it as their own. We say Jerusalem. If you want to say New Delhi, or Bangkok, or Chicago, that's your choice. That's your choice. But we say Jerusalem. And we've been saying it for a long time now. No one has been successful in challenging us. Because we use the right methodology to come to the conclusion that Allah is talking about the destruction of Jerusalem, of the Jews being expelled from Jerusalem. And for 2,000 years they could never return. Have they returned now? Yes, they have. Have they reclaimed it as their own? Yes, they have. Well, have you ever asked yourself, is this happening by accident? You've done university studies, you have degrees. You consider yourselves learned people. Have you ever asked the question, is this happening by accident? If not, what is that which explains the return of the Jews to the Holy Land? We wrote the book Jerusalem in the Quran 12 years ago. 12 years is a long time. Translated to, and yet Islamic scholarship is still staying where it is. Lots and lots and lots of people have accepted the view that it is Jerusalem. And therefore those who brought the Jews back to the Holy Land to reclaim it as their own are also a people who have PhD in facade. The last one being that a man could marry another man and get a marriage certificate. That's the last facade. You know you're dealing with Gog and Magog, that they have been released. And they're the ones responsible for bringing the Jews back to the Holy Land. It is the Jewish-Christian Zionist alliance, which is now targeting Russia. If we are correct, then because Zulkarnain on his journey to the east showed such compassion for the primitive peoples and recognition of their rights, their human rights. The agreement which was just signed in Beijing last night, was it? 30-year agreement on gas worth 400 billion or more. They've got to build a pipeline for the gas. And it has to go from Siberia all the way to China. It's going to take a long time to build it. The world will watch to see whether Russia tramples upon the rights of indigenous people who are in the way, like Texaco and Esso and all these American oil giants, or whether Russia will show compassion and put human rights above the exploitation of resources and divert the line so that you show respect. If this analysis is correct, then when the fireworks begin in Ukraine, as will come soon, Russia is just waiting, then the world is likely to see a repeat of what occurred on the first occasion. Gog and Magog were contained, and the method used was building a barrier with blocks of iron and then coating it with copper. If you use that today, what military strategy are you going to adopt? To use the language of chess now, to checkmate NATO. To checkmate NATO. So that NATO will be helpless to intervene. And Russia will be able to punish the oppressor. I don't know what that military strategy is going to be. But I am anticipating that it will be a military strategy which will checkmate NATO. And they can take that, if you'll excuse me, and put it in their pipe and smoke it. Because this is Islamic eschatology at work tonight. What should we do? Answer. Tonight's lecture should open the appetite to do what has not been done before. Don't look upon the Quran as a book to recite for the dead, but rather go to the Quran and recognize it as a book which explains all things, and therefore explains the reality of the world in which we live today, and helps us to anticipate tomorrow. I can help you with that with my books. I have 2 books on Surah Al Kahf. One is the tafsir, the whole book, the whole Quran. The whole of Surah Al Kahf, the tafsir. And then the second one is the ta'weel, or the interpretation. That book is entitled Surah Al Kahf in the modern age. And then there's the third book, which is on Gog and Magog, an Islamic view of Gog and Magog in the modern world. And then there's Jerusalem in the Quran, which is the major one. All of these books are there for you to help you in your study of eschatology. We're building an institute of Islamic eschatology here in Malaysia. And we're not building iron and steel, multi-million-dollar buildings. No, we're going for Punduk. Punduk, the old Malay style of Punduk. The students will come and they'll have free accommodation. But tell your mother to teach you to cook before you come. Because you're going to do your own cooking. You don't pay for accommodation, you don't pay for classes. It's all free of charge. And mashallah, from the time I put the notice on my website that we need people to come forward and donate a hut. You pay for building the hut, and then you give it as waqf. Notice how I pronounce the word, waqf. It's one syllable. Don't take a word from the Quran and make biryani out of it. I'm talking to the Malay people. Okay? The word is waqf. You will give the hut as waqf. And you can come and stay in the hut sometime. Don't come and spend the whole year in the hut. Because students will be coming and staying in the hut. If you want to come with your wife, then we have huts located in one section for only men, huts located in one section for only women, and huts located in a third section for husband and wife. So you'll have to decide where you want your hut to be built, because you want to come with your wife and spend a little time in your hut. Alhamdulillah. And the money is coming in. Every day we're getting people from different parts of the world coming forward to say we want to donate a hut. Alhamdulillah, we already got the money for the masjid. It's already come. Allah is just sending it. Alhamdulillah. We have a problem with water, so we're going to dig a well now to get enough water to be able to proceed with construction. We're hoping that classes can commence by the middle of November. And classes will be only a 1-week introductory course. Anybody can come. Anybody can come for the 1-week introductory course. So we'll only be touching Dajjal and touching Gog and Magog in 1 week. And this will be repeated over and over and over again. Those who excel will be accepted to go to the second stage, which is the 1-month course, where you now study the subject in greater detail. You don't need a whole year to do your basic studies in Islamic eschatology. No. And that's all we'll be teaching. From those who complete the 1-month course and who show capacity to become scholars of Islam, we will choose with very great care a few who will now be taken to the 3-month course, or maybe 3 or 4 months, whatever it is, at the end of which we'll be able to say you are now competent to go and teach the subject. This is the old method of ijaza. Ijaza, and you get the ijaza, you can go and teach the subject. But don't go and show the ijaza to everybody. No, it's only between me and you privately. Islamic eschatology tells us more. It tells us that the next big event which is to take place in the world is the Malhama. Nobody else is saying that. Only Islamic eschatology is saying the next big event is the Malhama. Christian eschatology is also saying Malhama, but they call it Armageddon. But Islamic eschatology tells us that Russia will survive the Malhama. They're not going to like this in NATO. How do we know that Russia will survive the Malhama? They're going to love this lecture in Moscow. Answer: because Nabi Muhammad ﷺ said, and this exposes the lie of the Sultan Muhammad Fatih and the Ottoman Empire, their monstrous lies. Nabi Muhammad ﷺ said, hadith is in the Sunan of Abi Dawud, he said, Umranu Bayt al-Maqdis kharabu Yathrib. Kharabu Yathrib khurujul Malhama. Khurujul Malhama fathul Constantinia. In Arabic, they don't say Constantinia, they say, I don't know why, they say Constantinia, but I don't want to use that. Because the original is Constantine. Is it in Greek? What is it in Greek? Constantinos. Constantinos. So there's a noon, there's an N in it. Constantinos. So, Constantinia. Khurujul Malhama, Fathul Constantinia. Fathul Constantinia, Khurujul Dajjal. This is the hadith, the timeline of events. So we know that the next event to take place after the Malhama or the Great War, when most of us will die, is the conquest of Constantinople. We know that the conquest of Constantinople comes through an alliance between Muslims and Rome. That's why I want to visit Greece. I've already visited Moscow. And I tell you, I got a very friendly reception in Moscow. And they treated me with respect. At the State University of Moscow, which is the most important university in Russia, they treated me with respect. And they were very happy to see the similarities between Orthodox Christian eschatology and Islamic eschatology. What is the implication of the conquest of Constantinople following the Malhama? Answer: the conquest of Constantinople will result in NATO being thrown out. NATO will no longer have control of Constantinople. And once NATO is thrown out, the implication will be that the Bosphorus is now free. What will be the implications now if the Bosphorus is free? Answer: there is only one, and that is that the Russian Navy, which is based in Crimea, which is now a part of Russia, the Russian Navy will survive the Malhama. After the Malhama, there will be no more aerial warfare. No aeroplanes will fly. How do we know that? Because our Prophet said that when the Malhama takes place, birds flying in the sky will fall down. Meaning, the contamination of the atmosphere through nuclear radiation and so on will be such that nothing can fly because you can't navigate. So cruise missiles aren't going to go anywhere. Might come back and hit you. Huh? So you cannot wage war after the Malhama in the air. There's only the sea and the land there. And the implication of the conquest of Constantinople and the freeing of the Bosphorus is that Russia will still remain a naval power after the Malhama. So the Russian Navy will then be able to pass through the Bosphorus to enter into the Mediterranean as the Muslim army is making its way to Constantinople. It is that alliance of Muslims and Rome which will now liberate Constantinople. So we come to a second conclusion tonight, that this is Islamic eschatology, that Russia will survive the Malhama. I hope that we have succeeded tonight in whetting your appetite. This is your book, the Quran. When I give an opinion, remember the rules. Do not ever accept my opinion until you are convinced that it is correct. This is the respect I have for your rational faculty. When you are convinced that something is the truth, do not hesitate to accept it, regardless of the price you may have to pay. They may say you're a terrorist. You may not get a promotion. You might be fired in your job, all kinds of things. But Islam expects you to have backbones made of steel. When once you recognize it as the truth, this is what the Quran is saying, then do not hesitate to accept it. We pray that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala may answer your heart desires, fulfill your heart's desires, that you may now be blessed to study the Quran, and that the Quran may teach you the reality of the world today. رَبَّنَا تَقَبَّلْ مِنَّا إِنَّكَ أَنْتَ السَّمِيعُ الْعَلِيمُ وَتُبْ عَلَيْنَا يَا مَوْلَانَا إِنَّكَ أَنْتَ التَّوَّابُ الرَّحِيمُ برحمتك يا أرحم الراحمين آمين.
يا الله